I think it's high time I finally write a real bio in here and not whatever the frick this is. I just never know. I just never know what to write. Guys, I just never know. Should I write something intimidating, cute, funny? Maybe something like. I guess I have blades. So I can mention. Nah, no, let's not do that. Let's do. Oh wait, I got something. Let's do the Trailblazer is cooler than the. Yeah, yeah, perfect. What's up, humans? My name is Air, and it's good to feel your presence. I've been thinking about this for a while now and decided it's high time to express my opinion. Now, I've been playing Honkai Star Rail for a while now, and I've also played a fair deal of her sister game, Genshin Impact. Obviously, this video is about how I like the Trailblazer better than the Traveler, but I'm going to make some comparisons here. I will have a disclaimer though. I will not be arguing about every little thing about the differences between these two protagonists, even though both were developed by the same group. Star Rail and Genshin are very different games. They're targeted towards very different sets of gamers. I'll only be using comparisons so as to show the opposing dynamics of the Trailblazer and Traveler while giving my reasoning for why I enjoy the Trailblazers more. So even though I will be comparing them, this is not a video on how one game or the other is inherently worse or better. Maybe I'll make that video another day. Anyway, I have three main reasons for why I enjoy the character of the Trailblazer more. So, here we go. To start, I prepared a brief summary of the setup for the Traveler and the Trailblazer, and we're going to start with the Traveler. So, we first meet the Traveler exploring space with their twin. Suddenly, an unknown enemy appears that tears the twins apart, casting one into the world of Tavat. Upon waking, the Traveler meets Paimon, another mysterious floating girl that decides to stick with the protagonist on their journey to find their missing sibling. They begin to travel the land together, visiting each Archon in order to find answers to who this enemy is and the whereabouts of the other twin. On the other hand, we don't even see the Trailblazer for the first 30 minutes of gameplay. Instead, we walk around through the steps of two women, Silverwolf and Kafka. Their motives are unknown to us, but it is clear that they are searching for something called a Stellaron aboard a space station. However, instead of stealing it, they awaken the Trailblazer, leaving them on the station and disappearing. Upon gaining full consciousness, the Trailblazer meets many people, including March 7th and Dan Heng. By the end of the tutorial, the Trailblazer is invited to become part of the Astral Express and find their place in the galaxy. In a way, we could call these stories similar. Both are strangers in a new land, unsure of where to go, what to do, who's an ally, what's an enemy, but that's kind of where it ended. Unfortunately, these protagonists are very different. At the heart of it all, the Traveler is only there for their missing twin. They have no real connection with Tavat other than the people they help along the way. Even though the Traveler's presence is curious and intriguing, they're essentially an alien, and they're treated as such by the people in the game, and we can see this a lot in different ways. Well, first off, the Traveler doesn't really belong anywhere. Yeah, I know it's literally their name that they travel a lot, but even those with an unbearable sense of wanderlust still have a place they call home. The Traveler doesn't really even have that. True, they make a name for themselves everywhere they go, but they don't really belong there. We can see this through their interactions with other characters. Other than Paimon, nobody really sticks by the Traveler's side at all. We meet them in their respective lands, help them out, maybe come back later when we've unlocked their story quest, and then we move on to meet somebody else. I guess we could consider the fact that we take along characters as part of the team, but they're not truly there in a companionship sense. For all intents and purposes, the Traveler may as well be alone. In a way, the Traveler could simply be described as a disturber, maybe a helpful one, but still out of place in this new world of Tavat. This, however, is not the case for the Trailblazer. From the moment they awaken, they are explicitly given a place to be. This is also why I believe that the Astral Express and its crew is so important in this game. That and they are the Trailblazer's home. I describe them as found family. Seriously, there's Himiko, the patient mom, Welt, the tired father figure, Pom Pom, the annoying but cute pet that everyone simultaneously hates and loves, Dan Hung, the nerdy brother, and March 7th, the bubbly sister. And all this, the Trailblazer fits right in. This is awesome for so many reasons. I love watching characters interact with each other. It's so refreshing to watch Himiko and Welt watch over the younger members of the crew. Instead of constantly collecting bounties, March is asking the Trailblazer to take pictures for her. Every so often, the Trailblazer takes Don Hung about some random thing they need information on. There isn't nearly as much silence around the Trailblazer in comparison to the Traveler. In almost any given quest, one of the companions is talking in the background, which helps with that sense of companionship. It makes me much more attached to the Trailblazer as a protagonist because I truly feel as though they are part of each of these characters' lives. It makes me want to help March find where she came from. I want to figure out what Don Hung is running from, not because the stories themselves are so very interesting, but because through the Trailblazer I feel like their friend. Which brings me to the realm of personality. I recently went through Ranmei's questline with her food creatures and was pleasantly surprised at the amount of facial expressions the Trailblazer has. I love cutscenes with the Trailblazer for this reason. That's not to say that both protagonists don't have the same curse of resting neutral face, but the difference is that the Trailblazer was written to be more separated from the player as their own character, which allows them to have a more distinct sense of character than the Traveler does. You can kind of tell that the Traveler was developed like a blank state for the player. This actually reminds me a lot of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. For those of you that know what I'm talking about or have played this game before, Link, in a sense, feels very empty. He's alone in Hyrule, without memories, no friends. All he has is a quest and a world to save. Even though part of the game allows you to collect memories, we have no idea if any of these hold any actual importance to Link because the slate he was given was Zelda's. So we could very easily say that none of these memories actually meant anything to him because we have no context on that. That makes any personality trait we see unreliable because Zelda's memories are in her perspective, even though they are shared with Link. Therefore, they do not accurately portray Link as a person. This, like the Traveler, makes Link seem kind of blank, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in a lot of these games. One of the reasons developers do this is to allow the player to sink more fully into the protagonist's shoes. It's the same concept as when an artist paints people without distinct faces. It helps the viewer project their own face into the painting. So, if anything, the Traveler's lack of personality connects the player through their origin story. It's easier to, like the Traveler, fall into Tivat and visit the unknown world. On the other hand, the Trailblazer clearly has something going on. Even with the limited ability to choose what they say in conversations, it's easy to pick up their personality. We can tell that they're protective of their friends, especially when it comes to Stellaron hunters. They're willing to help others, both enthusiastically and begrudgingly, as we see oftentimes with Madame Herta. They are curious and not above asking for help, sending text to their many contacts for information. They're also easily surprised, even scared, in their various encounters with odd or terrifying creatures. Honestly, the biggest advantage the Trailblazer has in this regard to the Traveler is the frequency of these moments. Now, I'm not saying that the Traveler has no personality. I'm just saying that the Trailblazer is much more visible. One of the biggest problems with the Traveler is that they seem extremely unnecessary at times. I'm not gonna lie, I took them off my team in Genshin as soon as I could. I had absolutely no attachment to them. Sometimes it feels like the Traveler is really only there as a placeholder for the player to interact with cooler people and the main storyline. First, the Traveler hardly has any dialogue at all. I like Paimon as much as the next player, which is very little, but she's like 80% of the exposition in this game. The Traveler says barely anything before Paimon overtakes the entire conversation. In a way, the developers made Paimon the Traveler's mouthpiece, which honestly kind of sucks. And I'm not gonna lie, I have forgotten multiple times that the Traveler actually has a voice actor in this game because he hardly says anything. Second of all, the other characters don't really distinguish the Traveler either. If it's not the main quest, it doesn't really matter who you're playing as, who's on your team, because everything is so generalized to the point where the Traveler doesn't matter. Really, the most we see or hear of the Traveler is during the main storyline. One, the Trailblazer talks a whole lot in comparison. It's a huge help that often the Trailblazer's thoughts play in the background during all types of quests. He's included in conversation and he answers for himself. Two, the Trailblazer is referenced and called on daily by other characters. A good example of this are in the in-game text messages. They directly address the protagonist, ask for help, advice, or simply just bother the frick out of them. In like Sampo's case, to put it simply, it's hard to forget that the Trailblazers in this game. It's hard to forget the protagonist in Honkai Star Rail. And with that, I'm closing my mini little rant here. Those are just a few reasons that I like the Trailblazer better. Now, to be clear, I don't dislike the Traveler, I just prefer the Trailblazer. But anyway, thanks for listening. I actually stream this game, Honkai Star Rail, throughout the week on Twitch. So if you would like to argue with me, there's your opening. If you liked this, hated this, leave a comment. I hope to see you around sometime. Ciao!